It was one of those reckless ideas that only seemed brilliant after a few rounds of cheap vodka. The four of us, Alex, Mike, Sarah, and me, John, had been friends since childhood. We'd always been drawn to adventure like moths to a flame, but this time, we'd crossed the line into sheer insanity. Chernobyl had always held a macabre fascination for us. The word itself sent shivers down our spines, yet the allure of its forbidden mysteries was irresistible. We'd heard tales of the ghost town, the abandoned buildings, and the haunting silence that filled the air after that catastrophic nuclear disaster. And so, fueled by liquid courage and youthful recklessness, we hatched a plan. It was a moonless night when we found ourselves at the perimeter of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. The darkness swallowed the trees and road ahead, and the wind carried a haunting whisper of a forgotten past. There was an eerie sense of foreboding as we approached the rusted gates of the nuclear plant, where a sign read, "No trespassing, danger, radioactive zone." Alex, always the prankster, tried to make light of the situation.
Come on, guys, what's the worst that could happen? We'll get some killer selfies and a cool story to tell.
As we slipped through a hole in the chain-link fence, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being watched. Maybe it was just the nerves playing tricks on me, or perhaps it was the ghosts of Chernobyl keeping a close eye on their unwelcome visitors. The place was surreal, like something out of a post-apocalyptic nightmare. We wandered through the decaying remnants of a once-thriving city, our footsteps echoing in the silence. Crumbling buildings loomed like specters in the darkness, and the air was thick with the smell of decay and despair. We dared each other to explore deeper into the heart of the abandoned city. Our laughter was nervous, our bravado a thin mask for the fear that gnawed at our insides. It was as if the very air we breathed was charged with a palpable sense of dread. Hours passed, and the tension in our group grew. Sarah, who had been the most reluctant to come, was now the most adamant about leaving.
"This place is cursed,"
she whispered, her eyes darting around nervously. Just as we were about to concede and make our way back to the fence, a distant noise stopped us in our tracks. It was a faint, haunting melody that seemed to emanate from nowhere and everywhere at once. The tune was achingly beautiful and filled with a sorrow that chilled us to the bone. We followed the melody through the twisted streets and abandoned buildings. It was as if an invisible hand guided us deeper into the heart of Chernobyl. The source of the music remained elusive, always just out of reach, and we couldn't help but feel that it was leading us towards something dark and unknown. As the hours slipped away, exhaustion and fear gnawed at our resolve. Our search for the music had become an obsession, and we had lost all sense of time and direction. That's when we first caught sight of the mysterious figure. He appeared like a wraith in the shadows, his tattered clothes billowing in the wind. His face was obscured by darkness, and his movements were eerie and disjointed, like a marionette controlled by an unseen puppeteer. Panic surged through us as we realized that he was following us, always keeping a distance but never letting us out of his sight.
"Who are you?"
Mike yelled, his voice trembling. The figure made no reply, only continued to advance. We stumbled over debris-strewn streets and through crumbling buildings, but he was relentless, a relentless pursuer in this forsaken labyrinth. As dawn approached, our fear and exhaustion reached a breaking point. We had no choice but to retreat toward the one place we had tried to avoid at all costs, the Chernobyl nuclear plant itself. It was a dangerous gamble, as the radioactivity levels there were deadly, but it seemed like our only chance to escape our relentless stalker. Inside the plant, the air was heavy with the smell of decayed industry. Our Geiger counters clicked and buzzed ominously, reminding us of the lethal radiation surrounding us. We knew we couldn't stay long, but it was a temporary sanctuary from the unknown threat outside. Hours passed in anxious silence as we huddled in a dimly lit room, our eyes darting to every shadow, every creak of the building. The mysterious figure had not followed us inside, but the sense of unease never left us. It was Sarah who first succumbed to the effects of radiation poisoning. She grew weak and pale, her breathing shallow and labored. We knew we had to get her out. but we were trapped, prisoners of our own reckless curiosity. And then, as the hours dragged on, the figure reappeared. He stood in the doorway, his eyes fixed on us. In that moment, we realized the horrifying truth. He was not a man, but a specter of Chernobyl, a vengeful spirit bound to this cursed place. As the figure advanced, our terror reached its peak. We had no choice but to retreat further into the heart of the nuclear plant, deeper into the deadly radioactive abyss. Our Geiger counters screamed in protest, but there was no turning back. In the end, we were forced to confront the chilling reality of our choices. Our pursuit of adventure had led us into a nightmare, a world of darkness and despair that we could never escape. And as we huddled together, the lethal radiation closing in around us, we knew that our journey had ended in tragedy, a cautionary tale of the dangers of reckless curiosity. In the cold grip of Chernobyl's radioactive embrace, our screams were swallowed by the unforgiving silence of the past, and the mysterious figure watched us with empty eyes, a guardian of this forsaken land.
Don't forget to subscribe, and feel free to tell me your tales on Reddit.